Welcome back to another episode of the Vendetta Sports Hockey Show. It is Wednesday, December 8th. I am Dodgeball Champion, Scott Logish here. We also have Gavin. Gavin, how you doing today?
Oh,
shit.
The Avalanche are getting beaten by the Rangers,
Gavin,
so fantastic.
Fantastic. Yes, we can hear you. We are all set.
Okay.
We are good to go.
Okay. Yeah, the Avalanche are getting beaten by the Rangers, so I'm not great right now.
I've been fighting a cold for the past 3 days.
This is going to be awesome.
Consider this my Michael Jordan flu game. I consider last night, the Dodgeball playoffs, my Michael Jordan flu game. It was a hell of a run. What do you say we just get right into it?
I didn't even think people played dodgeball. I didn't think it was a real sport.
Dodgeball champs, buddy.
Yeah.
Dodgeball champs. I even got a T-shirt for it. And I've been wearing it all day.
Okay.
All right, so let's get into it.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with a Canadian team being absolute crap. I think that's a fine way to start this. The Vancouver Canucks changing of the guard fired both their coach, Travis Green, and their GM. What does this mean for the Canucks moving forward?
To me, it means that they're going they have to go a different direction, and they are. They've decided to go a different direction. What that direction is going to be is going to depend on what happens here over the next couple of weeks. It depends on who the GM is going to be, and it depends on what he sees from the team. It's not exactly like the Canucks have a ton of cap space to play with, so it's not like they can go out and be major players in the market without dealing something that you probably don't want to deal. So to me, right now, the Canucks are in a situation where they've got to go for it. They've got to go for that last playoff place. And by changing the coach and by changing the GM, you're kind of hoping that will be the spark that the team needs and that the players need to get their act together and to get playing to a standard that, let's face it, Canucks should not be as bad as they are, considering the team that they have and the players that they have. I don't agree with I've seen Mark Bergeron's name out there as a GM. I don't agree with that. I don't think that will be a good move for the Canucks. But I think they needed to do something, and they need to do something fast. And it was only a matter of time. I was a bit surprised that both GM and coach went. But at the end of the day, it's a wholesale change is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're last place in your division behind the new expansion team, there's a bit of an issue there. Just from the optics of that alone, being behind an expansion team, aside from what the Golden Knights did first year, because that was just ridiculous in and of itself. That's not the standard for expansion teams. What you're seeing with the Kraken right now is more the standard for expansion teams. They kind of suck in the beginning. But when you're doing worse than that, you need changes to be made. And it kind of makes sense that both the GM and coach went, because if you fire just one, specifically if you fire just the GM, that new guy is always going to have some type of spite against the current coach there because it's not his guy. And you can say it's just a stupid pride thing, but GMs typically want their guy. They want their future and their success to be tied to the guy they pick, not some dude that they inherit. And you're going to need a hell of a turnaround and a hell of a spark to get to the playoffs with where the Canucks currently stand.
Yeah, I mean, they're 12 points away from Edmonton, who are the third place team in the Pacific. They're 9 points away from the Sharks, who hold a wild card spot from that division. It's getting to that point now where you've got to start picking up points. Bruce Boudreau, as a coach, I'm not overly fond of him, but he can get results, and he can get you results short term. I don't know if long term he's the answer for the Canucks, but short term you should have that new coach bounce, definitely. But Vancouver, I just wonder at this point, if we get a little bit further into the season and Vancouver are still where they are, do they just turn and say, fuck it, and we're going to tank, and we're going to look to get a draft pick, and we're going to look to get Shane or Matthew Savoy? Because There's no point going like this team has proven that they're not there yet. And you've got to figure out, you've got to do something. You've got to figure out something to change that. I don't know if it's the chemistry in the locker room, if it's what it is. The players are not clicking. Quinn Hughes is not having a great season, all things considered. Elias Pettersson hasn't scored in like 8 games or something like that, something stupid like that when they were playing against the Avalanche. These are the players that you need playing for you, and that your coach is going to need playing for you. If Boudreau can get them to bounce back and get them on form, then there's every chance the Canucks make a run and make the playoffs. But long term wise, is that gonna benefit them?
It's tough to say because with the state they're in, if things don't improve drastically, it might turn into a situation where massive overhaul is needed. But it's going to be tough to do with limited cap space, and then you might force yourself into making moves that you don't necessarily want to do, but you might not have a better alternative choice. And that's always a rough spot for a team where you think you should be at least in contention for a playoff spot. But when you're not, and when you don't have the salary cap room to operate, it's a tough place for any GM or coach.
And that new GM might just come in and just think along them lines. Like, I don't have anything to work with. I don't have any salary cap to work with. I'm going to have to get creative here. So this first season is it's a wash. It's whatever. And just then go from there. And if the new GM does decide to go that way, you can't you can't blame him. It's not his mess right now. You've got to give him at least, I would say, 3 years to try fix what's already there.
Yeah, I don't think you should even count this current year and this upcoming offseason against the new GM because he's inheriting a massive steaming pile of crap that he's got to try to shovel out and clear out. You can't judge him for that. You can't judge him for trying to do whatever he can to clean up someone else's mess. That's just not fair to the guy. But in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that's when you can start associating credit or blame to the success of the team to the new GM.
Yeah, and I don't think Marc Bergevin is the answer to the problems there. I don't see it.
Yeah. Moving on now, you sent me this video of a ridiculous goal for the Ducks. Do you want to explain it for the audience viewing right now?
Trevor Zegras, I think, might have just won the Calder with what he just did. And I know there's other good players with his Cedar for the Red Wings and Raymond for the Red Wings and technically Bowen Byron for the Avalanche. But Zegras basically got behind the net, and in a situation where you're sitting there thinking there is no danger here really whatsoever, so people probably won't understand this, but it reminded me of a hurley play. So hurling is a sport we have in Ireland that you play with a stick, kind of like a hockey stick, but you play it on grass. And it's very, very physical. But you can't just pick the ball up off the ground. You've got to put hurley on top of the ball and kind of flick it up onto your stick. And that is what he did. He seemed to flick it up onto his stick and then just pop it over the net for Sonny Milano to basically bat out of midair into the net. And if you haven't seen the goal, go YouTube it, because
it's worth the watch. It's 100% worth the watch.
This kid has like unlimited potential, and everyone's talking about it. And I follow a couple of the Anaheim Ducks writers and press on Twitter, and they've been, one of them in particular has been just, he's been losing his mind that Zegras is not getting more time. And when you see stuff like that, you can understand why this guy is frustrated. Like, if you would think he should be averaging 17, 18, 19 minutes a night. I think he's averaging like 13, which is, it's not like, you might think that's a lot, but it really isn't when you think about it. This guy's a future first line center for the Ducks. He's got everything that you want from a player, and you don't want to rush his development, but you also don't want to hinder it. And if that guy can do stuff like that, then you let him go out there and you let him do his thing. And him and Terry, and the Ducks in general, but him and Terry have been one of the reasons why the Ducks have been doing so well this year. I mean, you look at the Pacific Division and they're right behind Calgary. They're ahead of Edmonton. They're ahead of Vegas. They're probably going to slip off here at some point. You would think they can't keep going would be what I would say. But at the beginning of the season, I had the Anaheim Ducks as the worst team in that division, hands down. Like even behind Seattle Kraken, and it's nowhere close. The Anaheim Duck are a really really good team. They've got some really really good young players, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the next couple of years. And I mean, fair play to everyone in Anaheim because I don't think anyone's seen this coming. But they've got a real superstar in Trevor Zegras, and they just need to make sure that they keep his development on track.
Definitely. And for the team as a whole, looking at the recent schedule, they've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat, but they're also playing very competitive against other top teams like the Capitals. The Ducks are a very young team, and that's where you think they might need a little bit more experience to get them over the hump to be true Stanley Cup contenders. But they're showing a lot of promise right now because they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat, and they're playing competitively against other top teams in the league. And that's where, even as a fan of the Ducks, more specifically the coaching staff, the general manager, and ownership, you have to be ecstatic about what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, especially because when you think about it, you've got more draft picks coming. I mean, Mason McTavish started the season with them, and then I believe went back down to juniors. He was doing well when he was up. You've got a lot of players there who are very very close to breaking through as well. I think it's only a matter of times before Drysdale breaks through. I think if he hasn't already in people's eyes, I think he's a top 4D in my opinion. Uh, the only thing I worry about with the Ducks now is with how well they're doing. Do they go all in the at the trade deadline? And I don't think they should. If you drop out of the playoffs, you drop out of the playoffs. Get your draft pick, get someone, and then move on from there. Don't go all in. Don't pull a San Jose shark because you're not there yet. You're not quite there yet. And we don't need two California teams being a complete and utter heap of crap.
One's enough.
I actually like the Ducks. Like I do like the Ducks. I like watching them play. I don't like the Sharks. So they just need to stay the course. They need to keep their hand off that trigger. Don't pull that trigger. Just whatever happens. If you make the playoffs, great. No one expected it. Be kind of like the Avalanche the season after the 48 points. No one expected them to make the playoffs, and they made the playoffs. And they lost to, I want to say, Nashville. But no one expected them to make the playoffs. Just treat it like that. No one expected us to be here. That's great. Fine. We'll just take our pick and we'll keep going. You know, that's the way the Ducks should be treating it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As a young and developing team, you don't have to go all in. It's not like a situation when you have an aging roster that you feel the need. You have to go all in because your window's closing. If anything, their window is just opening, or it's not open yet, but it will be in the near future. So why would you unnecessarily mess with a good thing? Why would you put unnecessary stress on yourself as a team and organization when you simply don't have to? When you can just keep things going the way they are and eventually build up a championship caliber roster. There's no need to sell the farm to go all in at the trade deadline. You don't have to. Take this year. Think of it like you said. We weren't supposed to be here, but here we are. This is a great way to build towards future years and future successes.
Exactly, and they've got they're one of the 5 teams with the most cap space in the league. So if they really wanted to go out and do something at the trade deadline, they're one of the teams that could. But just keep the cap space. Don't get any bad contracts. You're gonna be
Let a
paying
good thing
Zegras
be.
here. Yeah, you're gonna be paying Zegras here in the next 2 years. So make sure you're not in a situation where you're having to sweat over having money to sign him.
Don't put unnecessary stress on yourself as an organization. Let a good thing be. Let a good thing keep getting better. Simple way to put it. Moving on to this is what you wrote down. Leafs Jets get feisty. And I'm confident what you're referring to is with like 36 seconds left, and the Leafs are getting blown out. All right, it's 6-3. There is no chance for Toronto to do anything. Story of my life as a fan, but no chance for him to do anything. Simmons and Stanley get into a bit of a scrap. And after that, Stanley just turns around, looks at the crowd, takes his helmet off, goes like this to the crowd. I loved watching it. To be fair, it probably shouldn't have happened because there was no rhyme or reason to it. But it was cool to see. It's cool to see stuff like this happen in hockey. And then the crowd's just loving it.
So it's one of these things where they've got to play more times this season. It sets up the rest of those games, right? Because now there's a nastiness about it. The one thing
there's bad blood.
Yeah. The one thing I was really impressed with the Leafs was when you think of the Leafs, you think of all their skill players. You think of Tavares, you think of Matthews, Marner, Nylander. You know, you think about all the flash that they have. But they were not against getting down and dirty with the Jets. They were not against throwing hands and taking those penalties and letting the Jets know, hey, we're not just gonna lie down. We're just not gonna take this easy. And I was really, really impressed with that with the Leafs because oh my God, I would love to see that from anyone in the Avalanche apart from Gabe Landeskog. The Leafs seem to have a number of players that wanted to get stuck in there and wanted to get involved. You know, and you sit there now, and I sit there and I look at the Leafs and I go, okay, they've got the grit. They can get nasty when they want to. Maybe they're not the same Leafs as they were the past God knows how many years you've been supporting them. That was the first time this season where I looked at the Leafs and thought they could do it. They could win the Stanley Cup. Even though they lost the game to the Leafs.
Don't give me hope.
Even though they lost the game to the Leafs, or to the Jets, that was the first time I looked at the Leafs and thought, okay, yeah, they if they get into that nasty game that the Avalanche got into against Vegas last year, if they get into one of those sort of games against teams, they'll be okay. They can fare with it. They can do what they need to do. That's the one thing I'll always say about the Avalanche is I don't think they're nasty enough. And it's weird because I was talking, and we'll talk about the Avs and the Flyers in a little bit, but I was talking to Andrew after the Avs Flyers game, and he was telling me just take it all in, just enjoy watching this team because they're skill wise they're just so amazing. There's no doubt about it, and that's what makes for me the goaltending situation so frustrating. This team should be winning Stanley Cups. They're not winning Stanley Cups, and the only reason they're not winning Stanley Cups is because of goaltending, in my mind. Grubauer did not play well last year in the playoffs, and they got bounced because of it. And Darcy Kemper is, if Darcy Kemper's the answer, I don't want to question.
Yeah, and going back to the Leafs, people have been saying it for quite some time now. What the Leafs were missing was grit. That type of mentality. We'll get physical with you. We are not afraid to throw hands. We're not afraid to hit you. That's what has been missing for the past few years with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've had all the skill, but they haven't had that attitude. They haven't had that thing which makes you think about the game, makes you think this is going to be a physical game. In years past, they didn't have it. Now, through the entirety of that game, it was a physical game, and even near the end, when the game was essentially over, the Leafs weren't afraid to get into it. And for Toronto fans, that gives you a lot of hope. And it also sets up future games between the Leafs and the Jets, because when you see games like this, you're like, oh, that's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be something I'm going to enjoy as a fan. And those are the type of games I feel players look forward to. Those heated rivalry games, those physical games where you know it's going to take a toll on you, but that makes the victory feel even better.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the pickups for the Leafs that I've been really impressed with, and he won't get on the scoreboard too much. Like he'll put points, but he won't get on the scoreboard too much. Is Bunting, who I want to say picked up from the Coyotes, because I remember playing against him for with the Avalanche. I think it was last year. I think he's been a really good pickup because he's one of those sort of players that yes can pick up points and will get you points, but at the same point does all that nitty gritty stuff really, really well. I remember playing against him. I remember the Avs playing against him for the Coyotes, and I just remember thinking, that's the type of player the Avalanche need. That he would be an ideal player for the Avalanche third or fourth line. You know, and the Avalanche are trying to turn Tyson Jost into that player bit by bit. It's a process, and it's not quite there yet. But the Leafs done really, really well by picking him up. Now you've got the experience of Spezza and Simmons, and Jack Campbell is playing otherworldly at the moment. It's like
Giving to me in fantasy.
What a fantasy pickup! I mean, what a fantasy pickup!
Give him to me in fantasy right now, Gavin. Right now, do it.
I told you all that needed to happen was the Avalanche come back and beat the Maple Leafs last week, and I would have traded them, but that wasn't gonna happen.
Oh, shut up! Those odds were stacked.
And here's the thing: like when I picked them up in fantasy, because of the strange rules in our fantasy league, a lot of goaltenders were starting to fall off the board. So I was like, okay, I have to pick up a goaltender who's on a team who's going to face a lot of shots, but probably win a fair amount of games. That was the only thing I was thinking of. I wasn't thinking about save percent. I wasn't thinking about how many shutouts is he going to have. Nothing like that. How many shots is he going to face, and is he going to be on the winning end of it? And that's the reason why I picked Campbell, is because I felt that the Toronto defense would give up their fair amount of shots, but I also felt with the skill they had up front, they'd win a lot of games. And they may win games 4-3, but they'll still win games. And that's why I went with Campbell. But it's very, very early in the season. Very early in the season. But if you're talking early season candidates for the Vezina, he's got to be in there. Because he has been unbelievable. But when you're a team like Maple Leafs and other teams like that, it does not matter what happens during the regular season. You've got to do something in the playoffs, and that's when it's going to be sink or swim for him.
Story of my life as a Leafs fan. Got to do something in the playoffs. But going back to what you said earlier about how the Avalanche were trying to turn a player into the type of enforced mentality, I don't think that's something you can teach a guy to do.
No.
I feel like to a certain extent you have to just kind of be born with it or develop it yourself. Like, I don't think you can teach a guy to have that type of mentality, that type of physical attitude in the game of hockey or in any sport. If you can teach it, it's extremely difficult. But I feel it's more of a natural thing that people are born with.
Yeah, and I think that's what's showing now with Tyson Jost is that he's picking up. He's doing good. He's defensively better than he is offensively. He's getting better, but I don't think he'll ever be 100% comfortable playing that role, playing that nitty-gritty role. When he got drafted, I think the ideas that the Avalanche had was that he would be your second line center right behind McKinnon. That hasn't quite worked out that way. He's had to change his game, and he's had to try make a position or make a place for himself on the team. And in fairness, he's doing that. And there's been times where he's been really, really good, and there's been times where he's been awful. But he's just got to keep trying. I agree. I don't think it's something you can necessarily train. But Joseph is doing everything in his power to get there bit by bit. I just don't think he'll ever be a natural.
Yeah, and if someone's not naturally going to fit that role, I think you're better off capitalizing on that player's strengths instead of trying to turn him into something he isn't. Because when you try to turn him into something that he isn't, that goes against his natural instinct, and he's not going to be as good of a player. That's my interpretation of it. You may disagree. Other people may disagree. But that's how I view sports and life in general. Just double down, triple down on what you're good at, and then that's when you're going to start to excel.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Avs, you wrote this, who needs defense, about the Avs and Flyers game. You want to get started there?
Who needs a goaltender? Who needs defense? Just
who cares?
7 goals in the first period. Right? 7 goals in the first period. It was just an absolute slugfest in the first period. It slowed down a little bit in the last 2, but I mean, watching that game was one of them games.
Probably because they're just getting tired.
I was sitting there and I was getting tired watching them, but I was sitting there and I was kind of going, that's the sort of game you want to be at. Because the announcers, or at least the Avalanche announcers, were talking about it during the game that Philly was very, very dead because of the run they were on. The atmosphere inside that center was pretty dead. Them scoring first definitely helped change that a little bit. But then the Avalanche going and scoring 4 was just like that. This is the thing I've always thought about the Avalanche is they can go out there and in a 5, 6, 7 minute period stick 4 or 5 past you, and the game's over. It's done. Forget about it. If they don't do that, then they can then struggle to score. You know, they didn't struggle to score against the Flyers on Monday night. Like we talked about Zegras' goal being otherworldly and unbelievable, and it really was. But if you're checking out NHL highlights from this week, check out Cale Makar's goal against the Flyers, because when the Avalanche are on the power play, every team seems to do the exact same thing. You bring it out, 2 players drop back, you drop the puck back to one of them. They try to weave in through the defense. I've been screaming at my TV constantly, just saying when Makar has that puck, instead of turning and playing it back, just go. He has the pace to take on anyone. Just go. Just take them on. On Monday night he did that, and he just left the Philadelphia defense for absolute dead. And it was, again, it's just one of them goals. It's one of them goals that will be on highlight packages for the end of year. And you just kind of look at it and you just kind of go, that's what he can do. Like Peter McNabb was talking about it during the game. He said that a lot of people are saying that Cale Makar is your prototypical defenseman, offensive defenseman. And his comeback was that he's not a prototype of anything. No one else plays like Cale Makar. No one else.
I just want to give you a quick update on the Avs game right now. They're currently winning 4-2.
I know. I'm keeping up to date bit by bit.
All right, I'm just making sure.
But here's the thing,
because
like,
of all the
it's 4-2, but the Rangers, like, I'm looking at it right now. Kempfer's save percentage is .895, but at the end of the first period it was 8.875. Like, he frustrates the hell out of me. I really hope he's better during the playoffs. Really hope he's better during the playoffs, because if this is what we're going to get during the playoffs, we're going to get bounced in the first round.
And for once, it may not be the Leafs getting bounced in the first round due to some type of collapse. It might be the Avalanche. That would be amazing to see. Lord
That'll be something new for you.
Put me through.
That'll be something new.
Oh, it would. Yeah, it would be. It would be my first time ever remembering the Leafs win a playoff series. I was a few months old the last time that happened.
Like, so I get the heartbreak, because in soccer I follow a team who you could say are pretty much like the Leafs, where they don't win anything, and it's hard to watch.
Pain.
And yeah, and it's not even, it's the hope that kills you, because I'll be honest with you, I went into this season not expecting anything from the Avalanche. And I think I sat on here and said, no, they're not going to win the Stanley Cup. And I still believe that. I don't think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. You know, I don't think they have the goaltending to do it. But every so often they'll play a game, and I'll watch them play, and I'll kind of go, fuck, this could be it. This could be it. And it's that glimmer of hope.
I have hope.
It's that glimmer of hope.
That just kills you.
When they finally lose, it's just gonna, that's what just kind of goes.
It's like, shame on me for expecting anything different.
Right? But yeah, I mean, the Leafs have to get past the first round. Like, the Avalanche have to get past the second round this year. They have to. But the Leafs have to get past the first round. There's no ifs.
The Leafs have to be half relevant in the playoffs.
That's
what needs to happen here.
When you're coming against Boston, you can kind of understand it, because it's two two heavyweight teams, but they should have beaten Columbus. They should have beaten Columbus.
I don't want to talk about it.
They should have beaten Montreal.
No kidding.
And you think about what Montreal went on to do then. Like, can you imagine?
And look what they've done this year.
Exactly. Can you imagine the Maple Leafs being in the Stanley Cup Finals last year with the Lightning? I think that would have been a much better playoff series.
I would have been so happy.
I
remember last year the Leafs went up 3-1, and I remember telling you I am more terrified than ever now.
Yeah.
I am more terrified than ever now.
And me saying, "Don't worry about it. You've got this. It's the Canadians."
No, and I'm saying like you don't know the Leafs like I do. This has happened too many times in the past 5 years. Life is tough being a Toronto sports fan. It really is.
And that media is freaking. They are nasty.
Yeah.
If you're not winning, they are nasty.
Yeah. It's entertaining to watch, but it's kind of suck being an athlete on the receiving end of that in Toronto. It's just gotta suck.
And you can understand why certain players just can't handle it.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah,
there's a certain amount of expectations in Colorado, and you can see it when the media are talking to the players after the game. There's a certain expectation there, but it's tenfold in freaking Toronto. Like, it's beyond bad. The Leafs lose a game and it's like the end of the fucking world.
Sky is falling. Sky is falling.
Yeah. Sky is falling.
But at least I was ready to expect it last year in the playoffs.
I will be honest, I didn't expect it. When they went 3-1 up, I thought that's it.
No, I told you. I'm more terrified.
Who are they playing in the next round?
No, I told you I was more terrified than ever.
Maybe that's what they needed. Maybe that collapse is what they needed.
Which one? How many in the past 5 years?
Last year.
You need a fourth one?
Don't tempt them.
You need a fourth collapse in the past 5-6 years to be like, that's why we suck.
But as I was saying, when you're playing the Celtics, when you're playing Bruins, you can kind of understand that Boston are a powerhouse as well, and you kind of expect it to be back and forth.
But Montreal.
Columbus, I still think they should have beaten Columbus, but the big one they should have absolutely won was the Canadian series, and that will be the one that I think will motivate those players this season more than anything else. Like when you lose to Columbus, you're going to go, oh, we were so close. We nearly had it, but Columbus just beat us out. And okay, fair enough. But being 3-1 up against the Canadians, the worst team to make the playoffs, that should have been it. You should have been like, okay, let's kill this off. If you're a Leafs fan, the only thing you can hope is that they've learned from that. And going into the playoffs this year, if they do get a 3-1 lead against the team, they're not going to take their foot off the gas, even for a second.
I hope so. But I'm not going to believe it until I see it, because I've been given too many reasons to not believe it at all.
This is true.
Moving on to the curse of Gavin and Trey. You talk about this one, because this was funny to me to hear it for the first time.
So on last week's show, I talked about Jonas Johansson and the dilemma that Colorado had because he was their best goaltender. Francouz was coming back from injury. Kemper hasn't been playing well. What do you do with that situation? You don't want to waive Johansson to bring Francouz back in because you're giving a team a goaltender who's hot. Since last Wednesday, Johansson has been a complete and utter disaster. And is probably making it very, very easy now to waive him once Francouz gets fully healthy. The other one was Tristan Jarry, who Trey said he owed an apology to, and I said, yeah, you and a few others. And then that was Wednesday evening, and then Tristan Jarry went and absolutely shut the bed against the Oilers, letting in 5 goals on 22 shots. in his defense, he has since bounced back. So give Jarry some leeway. Johansson's dumb, but Jarry has some leeway. He's been good this year, and it was a bad game against the Oilers, but when you're playing against Connor David, he can make anyone look bad.
That's almost as cool as when I cursed the Avalanche in the playoffs last year.
That was. I don't believe in that, by the way. First off, but that
You
was
should,
annoying. That was annoying as fuck.
You should,
Like
though.
that was like. You have no idea
though.
how pissed I was just sitting at home going.
That it kept working and it kept happening because it's real.
I'm sitting there and you're like, it's real. I'm like, it's not real. It's just that we don't have goaltending.
Look at the results.
Don't have a defense.
It's real.
We don't have goaltending. We don't have a defense. Speaking of
because I cursed the Avalanche.
Speaking of Trey, I've been told to give him shit because he lost in mini golf and he lost in bowling. So
I saw the bowling. I saw him get. How bad was it in bowling? How bad was the bowling? Was it like one? I think it was like 130 and 105.
Yeah,
he lost. I didn't hear about the mini golf.
Way to represent Vendetta, Trey.
Yeah, Trey. Don't worry, I represented Vendetta well in dodgeball.
There you go. At least we have one winner in the team.
At least we got one. At least we got one winner on the site. Dude, I was playing out of my mind in dodgeball, and I was so sick as well. Like I woke up. Huh?
I didn't even think that was a thing. Like I knew that like there was a movie and whatnot, and I've seen the movie, but I didn't think
the movie Dodgeball was amazing. Thing. Well, it was intramurals, but still. We had like a full-on dodgeball league, and it was amazing. And I was the one winner from the site because I won dodgeball. And even though I was so sick, you know when you're so sick that you just want to sleep all day? That was me. So I rolled out of bed at like 11:30, went to my 12 o'clock class, got back at like 2, tried to do some homework, decided to lie down at like 2:30, slept until like 6:30, rolled out of bed, was like, oh, well, I got dodgeball in a little bit, did some more work, had a little bit of a dinner, went out to dodgeball, and just kicked ass. It's one of those things where you're just in the zone and you know it.
The Michael Jordan of dodgeball. We're in the presence.
The Michael Jordan of dodgeball, right here. The Michael Jordan flu game of dodgeball.
Speaking of which, how are you doing with rugby? I know this is going completely off topic now. We're totally away from hockey.
Oh, the season ended a while ago, but we got sevens in the spring, so that's gonna be fun.
Are you getting used to it? Are you getting used to the rule?
I'm getting used to it. I've gotten used to it now, which is awesome.
I played for a little bit when I was younger, but then everyone else kept growing, and I stopped growing.
And you stopped growing?
Yeah, I did grow. So I was tiny. I played fly half.
Fly half, all right.
Yeah.
I think next fall I'll be playing prop, but I'm like a tiny prop because I'm like 220, if that. Maybe a little give or take a little bit. But I also know how to play lock, so I know how to play every forward position except hooker. So
I would come home black and blue, and it just got to the point where my mom's like, "You're not doing this anymore. You're gonna
we're done here. We're done here.
We're done here,
honey. We're done here."
Speaking of bad teams, like I really hope Andrew's okay.
I do too.
The Flyers are losing again to the Devils.
Correction, Trey lost 136 to 101.
That's a fucking disgrace.
I've just reviewed the footage now.
He better have some sort of reason for that. He better have the flu.
What's your explanation, Trey? We need one now.
Yeah, what's your explanation? We need an explanation.
We need one right here and now. What? How? How could you let this happen, Trey? How could you let this happen?
Speaking of the Don, have you seen his NHL series?
His NHL series is fun to watch.
Yeah. Did you see the one he did with Ottawa? I don't know if he put it on YouTube, but it was on Twitch.
I don't know if he put it. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I haven't seen that one yet.
He was cracking me up because he was looking to get rid of all these nobodies from Ottawa because he wanted to rebuild, he wanted to win. He was looking to get rid of all these nobodies, but he was looking for like first round picks. I'm like, you're not gonna get a first.
You got to tell him you can't finesse the NHL trade system like you can Madden. You just can't.
Even on easy,
it's a different animal.
Yeah, but yeah, he had me laughing my head off because he was just like, I want to give a 7th round pick.
He's really trade heavy in those, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he was very, very.
See, that's my thing. Because he asked like, how long should these rebuilds be? And I'm like, 5 years, because every single like Madden rebuild I've seen has been like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Christ, I don't know if it's going to be less than 10 hours. And I'm like, well, if you just sim all the seasons and you don't spend half your time trying to make trades, it's not that long. Yeah. Also, if they just get edited down to the key moments for YouTube, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's really all you need is just edit it down to the key moments. But yeah, the Ottawa Senators was fun to watch.
One of my friends is she's a Sens fan. It was so much fun. So much fun giving her all kinds of crap when the Sens suck. It's amazing.
Here's the thing. They do suck. They definitely do suck. But they're fun to watch. Like I don't know.
If you're gonna suck, you at least want to be entertaining.
Exactly. You know, like
you don't want to be a depressing, terrible team. You want to be a fun, terrible team.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Flyers. Sorry. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry, Andrew. We're just burying you right now.
Every time I watched Ottawa this year, and like I've watched them a couple of times now, they're fun to watch. Like they really
I know you just got your ass kicked, but damn, it was cool.
The way they play. Now, I worry about Thomas Chabot because I think at some point he's just going to break down. He can't keep running 27, 28, 29 minutes a night. He just can't. You know, at some point he's going to break down.
You know what? The Sens beat the Avalanche on Saturday, so yeah.
In OT.
Yeah.
In OT they beat us. Yeah.
+1 for Canada.
Yeah. But they're one of those teams that if they can get goaltending, a couple of additions here and there, they're going to be a real contender. Because they've got Batterson, Kachuk, Stutzel up front. Like you've got the basis there of a great team, you know, of a great forward core, and then Chabot at the back end is fantastic. I would say they could be the Ducks next year. They could be the surprise package of everyone next year, where they really make a run for it and they really go for it. The Sens. And wouldn't it be fantastic if Sens beat the Maple Leafs in the first round?
No, it wouldn't.
Amazing. That would be
no. Amazing. It would not only suck because it would be another first round exit for the Leafs. It would be to the Sens, the Ottawa Senators. Do you have any idea how terrible my friend would make it if that happened? Do you have any idea?
Amazing.
No, it wouldn't. For her, it would be. For me, it wouldn't.
I have a question. Who do you not want to meet in the playoffs?
Boston.
Because I know who, as an Avalanche fan, I know who I don't want to meet in the playoffs, and it's obviously Vegas. Like, if you're giving me Vegas, give me Vegas in the
Boston again, just because of the PTSD from it.
Like, for me, it's if you're gonna give me Vegas in the Western Conference Final, where they've gone through.
That's when it's okay to lose.
No, but they've gone through 2 really heavy-hitting series. You would hope by that point, you know.
So you're just hoping to win the war of attrition.
Exactly. And I was kind of looking at Toronto, and I'm kind of thinking, like, who do you want? Like, if the playoffs started today, you'd have Tampa Bay Lightning. Would you be okay with that?
I honestly feel I would be okay with that. I'd be reasonably.
I think they'd match up.
I'd be reasonably okay with that.
But you don't want Boston.
No, just because of the PTSD from it all.
Who are not even in the playoff place right now.
I know, but I don't want them to make the playoffs and just ruin my fun.
Boston, Columbus. That Eastern Conference has been fun this year when you think about the teams that are not in playoff places right now, like Philly, Boston, Islanders, Islanders. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun
Sorry,
season.
Emma.
Sorry, Emma.
Emma's an Islanders fan, right? Yeah.
The Islanders and Avalanche, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, she's not having a good.
Why two?
Obviously, born and raised, I would guess, in Colorado.
Why two teams? Oh, because she's from Colorado and
born and
is
raised
now
in
in
Colorado,
Vancouver.
and then now
You see, I
in
can't
New
do
York.
that with the Leafs and then the Bruins. I cannot do that.
No,
Cannot do that.
I could just imagine you going home wearing a Bruins jersey.
Yeah, my parents would be like, "What happened to you?" I cannot do that. Cannot do that here.
Have you worn your Maple Leafs jersey yet? Or have you got one?
I actually left it at home, and I haven't been home in months because that wasn't on like my priority of packing stuff when I was moving into residence.
Gotcha. Yeah, you don't.
But when I go back for Christmas, you don't want one here anyway.
You don't want a Maple Leafs.
But I might bring it back with me when I come back from winter break.
It'd be cool to go to a game, represent your team in Boston. Try
I'd
get
go
out
with
alive.
like a group of friends. Try to make it out alive. That would be something. I'd go with like a group of friends, and they're all wearing Bruins jerseys, and I'm just in my Austin Matthews jersey.
Oh,
What a
you have a
sight
Matthews
that would
jersey?
be. Yeah, it's a Matthews jersey. I got it for Christmas a couple years ago.
Is that the only one you have?
Correct.
Yeah, see, I collect.
My jersey collection across sports is interesting. I have a Ben Roethlisberger jersey. I have a Polamalu jersey. I have a Matthews jersey. And then because I won a week in an NFL pick 'em pool, it was like you win a jersey. So guess what jersey I got just because I thought it'd be hilarious.
Baltimore Ravens.
No, I got a Brett Favre Minnesota Vikings jersey. Packer legend Brett Favre in a Packer legend Brett Favre in a Minnesota Vikings jersey.
You gotta think that's gonna be worth money at some point, because didn't he only play like one season there or 2 seasons there?
He played 2 seasons there. I thought about getting a Jets Favre jersey just because that'd be funny. But I wanted to cause as much pain as possible for Packers fans, so I said, all right, we're getting the Vikings jersey. Which I think is very respectable.
Well, I think that's the end of our show, Scott. I think we're running out of topics.
That's exactly. We're running out of topics. We've been rambling on for a little bit.
This guy needs to go back and work again.
I gotta go to bed.
No, I gotta go work.
I've made it through my 48 minutes. The flu game has been completed.
Congratulations.
Flu game number two.
We await Trey's excuse for losing at bowling.
We await the excuse. And mini golf. I don't know how he lost at mini golf.
I don't know how he lost at bowling.
I don't know either. Maybe it's because the biceps are too big. It throws off his motion. Maybe that's why.
I don't know.
You know, No. You know how like
reason.
quarterbacks don't. You know, quarterbacks typically don't work out like chest, shoulders, and stuff because it messes up. It might mess up their motion. Maybe that's what happened with Trey.
Stop giving him.
Maybe that's what happened with Trey.
That that's the excuse he's going to use.
I'm just saying.
My biceps were too big.
Reason.
My God.
Well, not just the biceps. The shoulders, like it may have messed up his motion. All right, I'm just saying that it's a possibility.
His T-shirt was too tight and it cut off the blood to his arms.
No, his T-shirt was not too tight. If anything, his T-shirt was too big.
Trey, we need a reason why lost in bowling.
Yeah, Trey, we need a legitimate reason. Well, yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like on YouTube, subscribe. Follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on Twitch if you feel like supporting us as a company. It means a lot to us. And until next time, we'll see you later.